Hello, everybody. Welcome. So I just realized Plantinga. How do I pronounce your last name?
Plantinga.
Plantinga. Okay. So we're going to start this over. Good thing I'm not going live right now.
Gotta work out the kinks as we go. It's
Got to
totally
work it out. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am here today with Kristie Plantinga. Kristie is a super duper awesome SEO expert, and not just any SEO. Because you're watching this, you're a therapist, you're a mental health professional. So Kristie is a expert at SEO for therapy, for therapists, for therapy practices, for mental health professionals. And as you well know, the world of mental health and the world of therapy is completely different from any other industry, right? That kind of goes without saying, but especially when it comes to marketing, it's just so important to work with and to collaborate with and to get information from people who actually live in this world, because it's just a completely different strategy. And Kristie and I, we've chatted quite a bit. I first found Kristie because I signed up for her newsletter, and she sent an incredible webinar about SEO for therapists that I watched. And even after doing this for 15 plus years, I still learned plenty of new things from it. So I thought, hey, instead of me trying to recap what Kristie taught me, let me just have a conversation with her and see if she was up for sharing it directly with you. So that is what I'm super excited to share with you today. Is Kristie's going to walk you through some foundational stuff and answer some questions about search engine optimization for therapists, how to get your website on the mythical page one of Google without paying for ads. How is it done? How can it be done overnight? Spoiler alert, it can't. Don't believe anyone who tells you it can. So Kristie has her own agency. It's called TherapieSEO. It's a content writing and marketing agency specializing in therapy, coaching, wellness industries. She's helped hundreds of therapists rise the ranks of Google's to appear on that page one. And she has been featured on, and I'm going to read this list so I don't miss any, Holding Space for Therapists, Private Practice Skills, The Entrepreneurial Therapist, The Private Practice Pro, Hold Space Creative, and Mind Money Balance. So if you've heard of any of those things, she has been featured on them, which makes Kristie extra awesome because she's just, anyway, I'm going to let you take it over, Kristie, and I would just love to, of course, introduce yourself, talk about all the things that I just missed there, and then let's jump into how people can do SEO, or how they can have you do SEO, or what SEO even means, or whatever questions anybody has right now.
Yeah, that sounds great. And thanks for having me. It's always really great to collaborate with another website designer in the space. So yeah, it's always nice having that understanding. But yeah, I think I'm just going to jump into it. I have a little bit of an intro in my presentation, so I'm just going to tackle all those questions. There we go. Getting to my presentation here. Perfect. Can you see my screen, Greg? Yes, I can't see you. So
no, I got to do it. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
I forgot. I was already in passive listening mode. I forgot I still had to actively do one more thing. There we go.
I'm glad I checked, because I would have just gone right along. But anyways, thank you so much for having me. Today I want to talk about how SEO can transform your private practice, what SEO is, the basics of SEO, and then later on we're going to get into some content writing tips for SEO specifically. So I'm going to dive right in. I'm Kristie. Like Greg said, I'm an SEO specialist. I live in Denver, Colorado. I love working with therapists, and I've dedicated my work at TherapieSEO to identifying SEO strategies that give therapists a steady stream of qualified leads when they sleep. I have a master's degree in written communication, and I've been working in the digital marketing industry for 7-ish years. I love what I do, and I cannot wait to share what I know with all of you today. So a couple things about me, just to get a little better picture. I'm not a morning person. I've tried so many times in my life. It's just not in the cards for me. I could eat pizza every day for the rest of my life, and I'd be totally happy, much to my husband's chagrin, who is from Lebanon. So huge food culture, amazing food. We actually visit Lebanon every year to see our family. I think therapists are geniuses / superheroes, really. And I'm a huge advocate for freedom. So my goal is for my clients to have a practice that allows them to prioritize their well-being and families above all. That's why we're here, not to talk about me the whole time. But today I'm going to explain the basics of SEO, how SEO can bring you a consistent stream of qualified leads, and a few pointers for getting started with SEO today. So I'll cover how SEO works, how it can change your practice, and some fast and free SEO tips. So let's get started. What is SEO? SEO, or search engine optimization, is the process of optimizing your website to rank on Google for certain keywords like teletherapy in California. We do SEO by writing content that Google loves, making sure our websites are fast and error-free, and building the authority of our website, which is often done through building links from other websites back to ours. We can also get clients from Google through local SEO, and that's optimizing your Google My Business, now called Google Business, to get clients from localized searches on Google Maps. So to understand really, it's helpful to actually break down how Google works. So when someone enters a search term, this is called a keyword, into Google, Google deploys bots or spiders to crawl its massive index of content to find the best web page result for that specific search term. So the bots crawl the text and the code of pages, and they assess the pages on hundreds of factors to determine which web page is the best to rank for that keyword. These are known as ranking factors. So when we do SEO, we optimize for these search engine ranking factors. Like I said, there are hundreds, so I like to understand them more into general categories. The first of those being content, the second technical SEO, and the third link building. So here's how we optimize for each of those categories. First, content. In my opinion, this is the most important of the three categories. After all, Google is just a giant index of content. So by writing high quality content, we prove to Google that our web page is the best result to rank for certain keywords. So high quality content in the eyes of Google, and again, we're going to get way more into this later, it's longer, so 1,000 plus words, more like 1,500 minimum. And we don't just like have a word count to have a word count. It's because that's correlated with more comprehensive content. Second, it's easily readable, so lots of headings, short sentences and paragraphs, basic vocab, which means no jargon to the therapist. Potentially, you're linking to high quality sources, and you should be including images, maybe other media if possible. So maybe embedding some YouTube videos that you find helpful into content. So that's the quality part of it. But we also write content in a certain way that appeals to the machine side of Google. And this is done through strategically inserting keywords throughout your content, adding optimized images, and making sure we customize title tags and meta descriptions. The second category of the ranking factors, the technical performance of your website. In the biz, we call this technical SEO. So if your website is slow and has technical issues, it can't compete with other websites. So I always say you can't compete in a NASCAR race with a 1999 Toyota Camry. Google assesses your website in a variety of technical issues like site speed, broken links, duplicate content, all that kind of stuff. And finally, you need to build the authority and trustworthiness of your website, really your domain. So for example, my domain is TherapieSEO.com. I spend time to build up the authority of that specific domain because you're essentially building a relationship between you and Google. Like you're the new kid on the block with your brand new domain, your brand new website, and you need to prove to Google that you're good at what you do. Essentially, they're not going to rank your content, especially in a really sensitive category like therapy. It's like that's a very, very big, potentially life-changing decision. So the burden of proof is just a little bit higher for therapists on Google. Building that authority, it's primarily done through link building, which is other sites linking back to your site. So backlinks are trust signals between you and Google, essentially. So you can think of links as endorsements from other sites. Google's always looking for ways to authenticate that you are who you say you are and that you're good at what you do. And links are one of the best ways for Google to infer that information. Because remember, on our websites, we can say whatever we want to say about ourselves. Like we can just completely lie. But to have what we say about ourselves validated by a third party through social proof in the form of backlinks is the fastest and shortest way for Google to believe us. So those are like the basic kind of overarching principles on how to, get traction in the world of SEO. But I also want to talk about why I think you should really strongly consider doing SEO as a marketing strategy. And in terms of getting clients, why I think it's actually the best marketing strategy for a therapist. So first, it's about as passive as marketing gets. Other forms of marketing, like social media marketing, Google Ads, they involve a consistent investment of either your time, finances, or both. But once you make an initial investment in SEO, the upkeep is pretty minimal and the work you do continues to build on itself. So I sometimes compare it to rolling a wagon down a hill. So to get that like really big, heavy wagon going, you have to like push it a bunch. In SEO world, you're writing a bunch of content, you're building a bunch of links. But once it's kind of going, all you have to do is make sure it's kind of staying on track, essentially. Second, ranking on page one is equivalent to always being on page one of Psychology Today. The difference being Psychology Today admits that their ranking process is totally random. So do you really want to place your marketing in the hands of a random process? I don't. And SEO isn't random. We know it works, so there really isn't a lot of guesswork. Obviously, we don't have Google whispering in our ear telling us exactly what to do, but many studies are done. It's a very robust field, so we know the tactics that generally work to get a site performing well. Third, you don't need anything but your website. So ideally, there is no long-term reliance on any other platform, person, or company. And that means total independence, which I think therapists definitely deserve as licensed and highly educated professionals. Next, you're meeting clients at the moment they're searching, because when people look for therapists on Google, they're ready to make a hiring decision very soon. The intent to purchase or hire is very, very high. That's it on that. Fifth, you gain a potential client's trust because you're ranking on Google, because not everyone trusts ads. It's estimated that they have a click-through rate, which is the ratio of people who see a website and click, as opposed to seeing a website and not clicking, about 1 to 6%, which is way lower than that of the organic search results. Those click-through rates can be anywhere from like 15 to 30% by comparison. And by ranking on Google, potential clients will tacitly or consciously trust your website more, and you will notice higher click-through rates regardless. But I think as a society, generally we trust Google and we trust the recommendations, and we know that it means something to be ranking on the first page of Google. So you already have that trust kind of built in, which I think is really, really helpful when you want to convert clients.
I would also say, I'm curious on this too. Like, I always think that if someone is running ads and they're showing up organically on Google, it's also like the double reminder. So the
Yes.
ad, you're paying for that ad. It's like, well, I just ignored the ad, but oh, there Kristie is again. So somewhere in that, in that little subconscious mind, it's like, oh, there's already that recall from 10 seconds ago. So just another reason, if you are running ads, to also run and to do SEO, because you get sort of this 1-2 combo.
Yeah, that would definitely increase the chances of, getting a conversion because, as I'm sure Greg could attest to, being a website designer, it's one thing to get people to your site. It's an entirely different thing to get someone to contact you, right? So it does help getting that increased exposure by both. I totally agree. And my sixth thing, I think this is my last one. And again, I could probably name like 20 more reasons you do SEO, but I'll keep it at these. And investment in your website is a direct investment into your practice, because you don't own your Instagram account or your Facebook page. You certainly don't have control over the constantly changing algorithms. If you're working for another agency, BetterHelp, Talkspace, you don't have really any say or ownership of what's done there. Ads on social media can be hugely beneficial. I'm not here to just knock on ads in social media, but it is essential to prioritize your own marketing assets by investing in your website, for example. Convinced? That's what I thought. Just kidding. It usually takes people a little bit longer, but hopefully that at least gets the wheels turning a little bit on what SEO could help you for your practice. And next, I want to get into a few pointers on how to get started today. Knowing that SEO is a lengthier process, we will definitely discuss that in a little bit. But these pointers, at least, fast, free, so at least you can start kind of getting your feet wet in the SEO waters. First, set up a Google Search Console account. It's a free analytics tool from Google. It measures all of your traffic to your website from Google. And very beneficially, it even shows you what keywords you're ranking for already. And there's no more accurate keyword data than from Google itself. So very, very beneficial in that way. But it also is kind of like a portal between you and Google. So when you make a change to your website, you can tell Google about it through Google Search Console. If Google's noticing mobile usability issues, indexing issues, they'll also tell you via your Google Search Console account. So it's almost crucial when we talk about building that relationship with Google. That's an absolute must to do for all people that I work with on SEO. Next, you can set up a Google My Business listing. Again, this is called Google Business now. But if you have an office, you can set this up for free. And there are also workarounds for virtual therapists. But generally, my clients get so much traffic from Google Business. And these listings actually appear above the website search results. So when someone uses Google, you can actually rank higher more quickly regardless. I think it's even more important in the coming years. I foresee some changes happening to Google. And Google Maps is really a safe haven for small businesses. So no large directories or companies, they can't list on Google Maps. And even if they did want to, it wouldn't be a very great strategy from them from like an economic, business development standpoint. So you'll always be kind of protected on Google Business as a small business. So I think it's really, really worth investing in. But I spoke with Marie Fang on her YouTube channel about Google My Business. Again, I can't get into all that right now, but you can just look up my name on YouTube and that'll come right up. And then you can also do some basic keyword research. So keywords are the foundation of SEO. You need to know how people are searching for people like you on Google in order to do SEO. Some keyword research tools, the ones that I like anyways, are expensive, but you can use Surf for SEO's free Chrome extension to do some keyword research. You just enter psychotherapist, your city name, and then check some suggestions. So it'll look kind of like this. I did Denver, for example, because I'm from here, obviously. Put psychotherapist Denver, and then on the right, you'll see some of the suggestions from this Chrome extension. This is a great place to start. Obviously, if you're going to invest in SEO, it's worth, investing in a better tool or just paying someone else to do it for you. But this is still a really, really good start just to get a sense of what should I even be putting on my website. So that's it for now. That's kind of the intro to SEO start of things. And I think there are a few things that Greg and I want to discuss before we get into content. So I will stop sharing my screen.
I now remember why I loved your presentation. Your gifts are my favorite people. Was it Ben Stiller, right? The guy, the crew from the Jess Show, the New Girl, Whitney Houston, and who was the fourth one that I'm forgetting?
Schitt's Creek.
That's right.
Oh, that's in my next one. Never mind. You have a Schitt's Creek gift to look forward to.
Awesome. Another one of my all-time favorites. And the Surfer tool, that was one of the big ones that I had found out about from watching your webinar, and it is permanently installed on my Chrome. And I'm always, anytime I'm working on a therapist website or any other website, I'm using it to see like how can, even without a big gigantic SEO project, like how can we even just find a couple of keywords that people are searching for, right? And just as a way to get started, because a lot of clients that I work with are like, I'm going to get my website live before investing in SEO. But what can we do in the interim that doesn't involve any kind of project? And Surfer is a great sort of middle ground for that. I'm curious, one thing, in terms of the Google business, and I love Google Business. It's wonderful. Like, what is your top one or two tips? I know you could talk about this for an entire hour, but I actually get someone to the top of that, because similar to organic SEO, right? Google My Business is also fueled by an algorithm. It's fueled by the Google robots, and there's a lot of therapists in Denver. So how could a therapist in Denver, a therapist in Santa Cruz, wherever, like what are a few things that they could do to help them show up in one of those coveted top 3 slots.
Yeah, the 3-pack, as we call it,
Yes.
the little selection of 3 right at the top. I actually wrote a blog post about this recently, so you can definitely pass that around to everybody. But I would say
I'll drop that in below the video so you can check it out.
perfect. I mean, the most important of the ranking factors, I forget the exact order, but your primary business category is very important. So you can choose one primary and multiple secondary. The primary is very, very important. So, like, for example, I have clients who offer yoga lessons, like trauma-informed yoga, and they want to show up on Google Business. If they don't have yoga studio as a category at all, or a primary category, even better, they're never going to show up. So it's like, if you can't even kind of like, try to play for first, of like, you're not even in the right arena. That's kind of how that works. Having a keyword in your Google Business name, that's very helpful as well. So whether it's therapy, therapist, psychology, testing, like whatever that is, that really helps as well. But I would say those are the 2 biggest things that you can work on to at least know that it's like, I'm at least, in the running. But I think that blog post should, because again, I could talk about that for a long time too.
I'll drop it down there. And okay, so I got a couple of other questions that I'd love to sort of just dive into. One of the big ones, and I think there's this misconception, right? Because most people who have a website get pitched by SEO agencies from all over the world who say, I'm going to SEO your website, or there's this conception that you can just, quickly SEO my website, or just do SEO. We'll get it done, and then it'll show up on page 1. And that's just really not the reality of how it works. Like, SEO is a sort of a more long-term process. And like I tell people when I'm talking about SEO, and I do not offer SEO services, I let experts like you take care of it, because there's just so much to know, and that's not my passion. So it's great that people like you exist, who it is your passion. But so what I say when I'm passing someone off and introducing someone is that SEO is like 6 to 9 months really of steady work to really start getting results.
Yep.
So with that understanding, what would you say to someone, or like, someone who does want to quickly SEO their website? Like, how can someone quickly SEO those websites? And like, what are those people who promise to get you on page 1 of Google tomorrow actually doing and promising?
Oh, God. Yeah, well, what they are doing is giving the rest of us a bad reputation. That's what those guys are doing. But I do hear that. Like, I definitely have potential clients coming to us. They're like, well, this other guy I spoke to said he could get me on on page 1 in 3 months. I'm like, well, I would love to know how he's doing that, because it's really not a thing. I mean, logically, it doesn't even make sense, right? There are 10 spots on page 1. If you think that you can do less than all those people and show up in the same spot, that it just doesn't make sense, right? So I do have people coming to me for a quick fix, and I just refer them to Google Ads, because I'm like, this is not the quick fix. Like, often people make an investment in SEO. You should be prepared to not get a return on your investment for like 6 months. I do have clients who get a return on investment before then. That's always really nice. But, at least 6 months, like, you're not seeing that back, So there are definitely things you can do to get started more quickly. And really the best way to quickly SEO your site is to have like a sizable budget and do a bunch of stuff really quickly. But even then, Google rewards businesses that participate on the internet over time. Like, they can kind of tell when someone's like doing it just to do it. But if you're someone who's consistently putting out high quality content, you're consistently going on other podcasts or whatever, you're contributing to the larger conversation, Google's going to reward that in the long term, not your like quick fix. Even if it's an expensive fix, like the quick fix isn't quite going to work. So that's generally the bad news that I give people.
Are you finding that Google is paying attention to what's on Facebook and on other social medias? And is there a correlation between what a therapist might do on their business page and how many shares and likes things get, even if it's not directly sharing an article? Does
Yeah,
that have any correlation in the signals you're seeing?
I think it has a very secondary kind of supporting effect. So we obviously know about link building. It's like I gave a little quote to the HuffPost, they linked back to me, great for SEO. But there's also unlinked mentions, and that's just your name being mentioned in different places across the web. So if your name is consistently mentioned enough, Google infers that it's like, all right, this person is, a mover and shaker. They're talking to all these different people. They're getting mentioned here. And I've actually read a study where some SEO guy just did the unlinked kind of things and he just got his name a bunch of places and it did help his ranking. So again, no
Fascinating.
direct correlation I can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
between social and SEO, but I do think it has like a supplementary kind of secondary effect.
Okay,
Mhm.
interesting. Yeah, I've heard so many things over the years of like Google ignores Facebook, Google pays attention to everything on Facebook,
Mhm.
and someone, oh, and that's the other thing about SEO is it's always changing.
Yeah.
Right? Like how often does Google create a new algorithm and change like Panda and Dolphin? They always have these cute little names for their
Yeah. They're
algorithm
not
updates.
doing the cute little names anymore, but I
They're
mean,
not.
Google says they tweak the algorithm every day. So the big ones, the really big famous ones, those come more recently. So like the helpful content update is the most recent one, came out in August. That was a big one. They're still rolling that out, but literally changes are made every single day to the algorithm. So I may have lost you, or maybe you lost me, Greg. There you are. Can you see me?
There. Fortunately, when I glitch out, because as I shared with you earlier, I'm on satellite internet and it is a foggy, rainy day here in Santa Cruz. You do not. So because
Oh,
since
that's
we're
good.
doing this through the server, your presentation, which is the most important thing here, is actually going
Working
uninterrupted,
great.
and the StreamYard will sort through it as you look at me like this for 30 seconds while things
It
reconnect.
wasn't an unflattering freeze. You're all good.
All right. You never know, right?
You do
There's some
not
very
know.
unflattering freezes. Like when you pause something in the middle of a show
Yeah.
or a commercial or something, and it's like, oh, wow, there's this incredibly attractive actor or actress in the least flattering pose of all
Yeah.
time. So I'm just going to assume you dropped some amazing knowledge there, and I'll watch it later to find
Totally.
out what you
You
said.
did.
Um, okay, so I want to I know you have some more incredible value that you want to present, and just sort of as a halfway thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and
Yeah.
for everything you do to help therapists. It's really awesome that people have someone to go to who knows all these things, who keeps
Mhm.
up with the algorithms and the changes and all of that.
Yeah.
So to go back in terms of pros and cons of fully optimizing pages, right? So I work with a lot of therapists creating first websites or
Mhm.
creating new websites. So you're talking about bigger investments and making the
Mhm.
big giant splash. So like, what is the advantage of optimizing all of those landing pages before you even launch
Mhm.
versus waiting? Because so many therapists, right, you're already spending however many thousands of dollars on a website design and
Yeah.
however many hours, and not wanting to then have an SEO project and have to figure out where keywords go while you're writing
Mhm.
authentic content, right? So that's why, in my experience, a lot of therapists sort of avoid SEO during the
Mhm.
website process. Is just one more thing that I can't handle
Mhm.
dealing. I'm not on my plate right now. But what are the advantages or disadvantages of that? Doing it that way,
Yeah. I mean,
and what's the bare minimum that someone could do
yeah,
to
for optimizing their site before
optimize?
launching. I think I lost you again.
I'm back, especially during the initial design process, was what I was
Yes,
saying.
initial design process. So ideally, they are done together. Ideally, you're consulting with an SEO professional. And again, this is an ideal world. I know that not everybody has the budget or knows the right person.
Hey, we're talking ideal world here. We're talking best practices, and then it's up to you, the viewer, to decide which of these best practices is in alignment with your budget and your
Mhm.
space and your capacity to do any of it.
Yeah.
Because you can always go back and do it later. And please keep going.
Yeah, and you definitely can. And most of the sites we work on are existing. Nothing, no SEO has been done on them. And I think it's worth saying too, like, don't just do SEO because you think you should. It's better to not do it at all and save the money if you're going to kind of half-ass it, honestly, like just don't do it. So I think that's the first question. Is this something I'm going to invest in? Or is that something that doesn't, I'm not really interested, or I have other clients this way, whatever. So I would maybe think about that question first. But if you are seriously thinking about SEO, it's definitely the best to have SEO inform the site. SEO can help shape what's in the navigation. How are we optimizing your title tags, meta descriptions, and URLs off the bat? How does that affect content planning? Technically, we can be a little bit more careful, depending on the website platform you use, of course. But it basically, you're coming out really strong and strategically, because I do have, this kind of ties in nicely to our next topic, but I do have people who, they're like, I have this content. Can we, SEOify? Like, I have this little wand, that I could just like wave over stuff. Yeah, I would love that. But that's the thing. Often when people come to me with that kind of stuff, we have a specific service just for kind of like retweaking content, because, people think content is just content, but really, the very core of what Google is supposed to be is helpful content that meets a searcher's inquiry. So if you're kind of coming to me with this half-baked content that doesn't really satisfy the user's inquiry, we're going to have to start over, is really what it is. So, and that's not to say that you just like throw away everything you've done, it'll never work. That's not true. Most of the time we can make it work, but don't expect to bring content to an SEO professional, sprinkle a few keywords in here and there, and then your page one material. No, that's not how that works.
Okay, so then how, I guess that's the perfect transition. How does it work, right? How do you incorporate SEO into, excuse me, existing or new content? And how do you do it while still maintaining your authentic voice? Because a lot of the pushback that I hear is like, I don't want my page to sound like it was written by or for robots.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get that a lot too. But yeah, I think we can just hop into the next presentation, because I should address all of those things.
All right, well, let's do it.
Memory is correct. So let me get that ready. Content for SEO. Perfect. Share screen. Here we go.
Okay, and then let me get that in there for you.
Yeah, let me know when it's ready.
You are good to go.
Okay, perfect. So this is definitely my favorite, topic that I love to talk about. I'm very passionate about content for this specific channel, knowing that content is different for every channel that you're on. Like whether you're posting in a Facebook group or posting on your Instagram or sharing something on LinkedIn or writing it's all different. So I'm very passionate about how it's written for Google specifically. So here's how to do it. I'm going to skip my little, to-do thing. You already know that about me. So in this presentation, I'm going to explain how to write web content for SEO so that you can start ranking for keywords like therapist in Los Angeles, knowing that some of these keywords are very competitive. In many cases, it does take more than content, but I do find that content can make up for other pieces of your SEO strategy that might not be quite as honed, we'll say. So I'll cover why this type of writing is really important, and then how to actually write content that Google loves. So why this is important, really, about 7 million blog posts are published every single day, which is insane. That's a lot of competition, and content is, and I don't say literally lightly, it's literally the name of the game. If you're not creating content that's helpful for Google, that's all this is, right? So
I just did a quick math because I was curious. That's 2.5 billion blog posts a year.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's insane.
I had to double check that because that just seemed like I mismathed there, but that's what my calculator just said. 2.5 billion blog posts a year. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, it's insane. And that's not to say all of those are good, right? But that's kind of like the game that we're playing in, right? So unless your domain is older, so 5+ years old, your website has been live with that specific domain, and you've been featured on a lot of different websites through blogs, podcasts, interviews, quotes, whatever, you're going to struggle to rank on Google. But in my experience working with therapists, high quality content can help make up for both of those things. Again, if someone is paying me, we're not going to skip those other two things, but good content really can make up for a lot of things that maybe aren't quite as in line. So if you don't have high quality content written in this style, Google won't rank you. Because when our websites are brand new to Google, we need to prove to them, like I said in my last presentation, that we are who we say we are and we're good at what we do. Great content shows that you're a subject matter expert, and that builds trust with Google. And trust really is at the core of SEO. And if you're not targeting keywords, Google won't know what you want to rank for. So when someone enters a search term, we know this, Google scans their giant index of content, as we just learned, 2-point-something billion pages, per year. And we backtrack that in a few years. So if you're not mentioning those keywords on your content, you're not going to show up, right? That's just not how it works. So if you're not targeting those keywords, you're never going to rank. So breaking down what actually goes into SEO content, I know I really briefly alluded to this before, but these are the things that I optimize for if I were to categorize them. Keyword targeting and placement, what Google considers to be high quality content, web readability, and then this isn't necessarily something I optimize for, but encourage my clients to do, how to write efficiently to save time. So first, the foundation of SEO, keywords. I talked about them briefly, and I did explain the Surfer SEO tool, but I think it helps to more conceptually understand keywords in general. So when we're choosing keywords for a website, ask yourself these two questions. Is my ideal client using this keyword? And can I actually rank for this keyword? So the first question, is my ideal client using this keyword to find a therapist like me? There are a lot of keywords out there that sound really good to us, but our clients may not actually be using them. And that's why understanding search intent is crucial. Search intent is probably the most important concept when it comes to content. And search intent is really what people want to see out of a query when they enter a keyword into Google. So for example, my favorite example, when people enter chocolate chip cookie into Google, you're likely looking for recipe. Maybe you're looking for, the calorie count in a chocolate chip cookie. We're likely not looking for the culinary history of chocolate chip cookies in America, right? A recipe, calorie count, whatever, that is my search intent when I search that. So testing for it is really easy. All you need is Google. You just enter a keyword into Google and see what comes up. So an example of a client of mine, he specializes in working with ADHD, and he wanted to explain tension and release as a grounding technique for people with ADHD. So we entered tension release into Google. We thought this is going to be great. But we found articles in tension release in classical music, which is, how classical music is often written. So although we thought this keyword was really great, when we actually tested for it, it was way off. So we're not going to create content. We're not going to waste our time creating content for a keyword, right, when we know the intent is about classical music. Second question, can I rank for this keyword? So unfortunately, some keywords are just way too difficult for us to rank for. We're not WebMD. We're not these huge websites that have been around for 10, 15 plus years, with huge marketing budgets. We're smaller businesses, right? So your ideal clients might search for the keyword anxiety symptoms, for example, but it's highly unlikely that you'll break page 1 for a keyword that is this difficult to rank for. And you can check how difficult a keyword is to rank for using SEO tools. I don't think you can do that with the Surfer SEO's Chrome extension, but it's a good thing to check for. And like I was saying before, since you're in the therapy world, you're also kind of like you're considered part of like the medical world on Google. So your competitors are WebMD, Healthline, Mayo Clinic. These websites are just highly authoritative. So it's going to be nearly impossible to outrank them. But it's okay because we use long tail keywords. Those are the kinds of keywords we target. Long tail keywords are keywords that are longer in length, of course, because they're long, but they're also more specific. They're also searched less than what we call head keywords. So a head keyword, for example, is intimacy. The difficulty level of this keyword is 48 out of 100, and it's searched 73,000 times per month. The long tail keyword, another version of that, for example, physical intimacy ideas. It's searched only the difficulty is only 6 out of 100, and the searches are only 70 per month, which obviously is much lower, but I argue that long tail keywords are actually better anyways because they're more specific. Like when someone puts intimacy into Google, the search intent is really unclear because it's so unspecific. So that's another reason I like long tail keywords, because we know actually what people want to see from that, which makes it more likely for them to, like our content, and then Google like our content, and et cetera, the cycle continues.
I also say, right, to use your example, if 73,000 people are searching for it, but you're on page 27, you're getting 0 clicks. If 70
Yep.
people are searching for it and you're on page 1, you potentially are getting 70 clicks. I mean, probably not, but right, like, so why even go if it's unattainable? Like, sure, the numbers seem like it's not worth it, but if you're actually going to succeed, it's almost of course, that's what you should do.
Yeah, definitely. You get the exposure. Also, you're more likely to get in front of ideal clients as well, because you're targeting very specific pain points that they have, emotions they have, thoughts that they have, as opposed to intimacy. It's like, well, again, literally anyone can be searching that. So just long tail keywords really are the way to go, especially because, like you said, Greg, you're actually going to show up.
Right.
So same sort of thing goes for therapist keywords. So the head keyword would be therapist. Difficulty 71 out of 100. It's searched like 200,000 times a month, which sounds great, but a long tail keyword would be sex therapist Denver. Difficulty 1 out of 100, and monthly searches 60 times. So when someone searches therapist, not only could they be looking for any type of therapist in any specialty, niche, area, whatever. So that's part of it. Like you never really know what they're searching for. That's probably like the biggest thing. I forget my second point there, but this was my second point. So not only like type of therapist, location, but also are they looking for the salary of a therapist? Are they looking how to become a therapist? Are they looking for, examples of celebrity therapy? Like we just don't know, right? So we also want to target long tail when it comes to therapist keywords, not just informational keywords that we would use on blog posts, for example. We talked about a few of these already, the benefits. So the really specific search intent. They're also more likely to convert. So when people actually get to our website, since our content closely aligns to what they're searching, they're more likely to contact us. So long tail keywords, the way to go. Definitely the way to go. Just takes a little bit more research to find them. So you found keywords, yay. And then the biggest question I get is, now where the heck do I put them? So just like journalistic or scientific writing, SEO writing is simply a style. So incorporating keywords is just part of how this sort of stuff is written. So here's where to place keywords, just as general kind of advice. The title of your page or blog post, and at least one heading. Generally, I like to say 3 to 5 times per 1,000 words throughout your content. Again, you can do more. It's this kind of skill set you develop over time, but those are the minimums I require or suggest that my clients do. You can use a keyword as the file of an image name and add it to your alt text. And you can also put your keyword into your title tag and meta descriptions. And this is important, very, very important. Only target one keyword per page. Don't confuse Google by targeting different keywords on the same page. Google won't know what to rank you for. You're going to mess with the search intent. So for example, I see some therapists have like a services page and they put all of their services on one page. That page is very unlikely to show up for the keywords you've been mentioning on that page because you're just too all over the place. When Google shows someone a piece of content, They want that piece of content to be fully about that keyword to match search intent. Because you always have to remember, Google is a company. It's a business. They just want people to stay on their platform. So mostly they can get ad revenue, honestly. So if your content matches that, it's not possible to do that if you're targeting too many keywords on a page. It's okay to be repetitive. I get this a lot. Don't stuff your content full of keywords. If you stay within those recommendations, you won't. But it's okay to be a little repetitive with keywords. I know we briefly mentioned kind of sticking to your voice as well. But it's okay to be repetitive because people will likely be scanning your content, like not fully reading, which is depressing when you spend a lot of time on it. But people likely won't be spending too much time analyzing, oh, they used this word already. No, they probably won't be doing that. If your content is answering the searcher's keyword well, you're going to inevitably use the keyword multiple times. Like that's why Google uses that system, because they know if someone's talking about something, they're going to mention it over and over again. So that's really what that comes from. And third, you are your biggest critic. It's probably not that bad. This comes up all the time with therapists. Like, don't overthink it. Up is better than perfect. It's okay to be a little repetitive. Next one, make sure that your content is high quality in users and Google's eyes. So we basically want to write content that's so good that Google can't turn it down. So according to Google, paraphrase and reorganized by me, these are the characteristics of that content. It should be unique. It should match search intent. It should be comprehensive, and it should be enriched. And I'll explain what all of those mean. So first, make sure your content is unique, which will likely come naturally to you. Google likes to rank subject matter experts. You're their favorite people. You as a therapist with a master's degree, thousands of hours of training and seeing clients, like you are their perfect person to be writing this content. And the more unique and expert sounding your content, the better. Expert sounding does not mean jargony at all. Instead, you're providing advice and informing potential clients in a way that only a therapist could. So for example, you wrote a blog post, some bustle article writer wrote an article about something. You're obviously going to sound like you know what you're talking about more than that other writer, because you're only sharing advice that is more unique and applied. And Google can tell when content is unique because they're scanning everybody else's content. If all their content sounds the same, but yours sounds different, Google already kind of picks up on that. So that really does allow you to be more you and use your voice, but also allows you to really show that you know what you're talking about. When in doubt, this sounds really cheesy, but really just be yourself. Like, obviously, we'll talk about website readability best practices, but just be yourself and share information that you want people to know. Like, for me, I always think about, you never really know whose life you're going to change by someone who reads your, like, this blog post you wrote. Something you share, you might be like, I thought everyone knew that. But you could truly change the way that someone thinks. You can encourage them to get help. You never know. So, just share what you want people to know about that topic. It's really that simple. So second, we talked about this a lot, but matching search intent, really, really crucial. So write about what potential clients want to see. You can enter the keyword into Google, check to see what's ranking, what kind of content is coming up, what questions are being asked. And the people also ask box is a gold mine for gauging search intent. So we talked about intimacy before. How can I improve? 4 types. What lack of intimacy does to a relationship. This helps you get a sense of that search intent based on Google's knowledge of how people are searching. For example, one of my clients wanted to target the keyword perfectionist quiz, but her content, she didn't even include a quiz. And because she didn't, we were never going to rank for that keyword. So long story short, all of this aside, we must match search intent to rank on Google. And the rest is really just me trying to explain all of this to you. Third, we want to be comprehensive. The more comprehensive our content is, the better Google thinks it is. So being comprehensive plays into the machine side of Google. Since Google uses an algorithm, they're able to match our search intent by understanding the connections between different topics. So for example, if we were writing content about The Simpsons, we'd want to mention Homer, Marge, Springfield. If we mention all of those things, like all of those characters, all those episodes, whatever, and our competitors don't, Google will consider our content to be better because it's more comprehensive. So That's where we get to that higher word count sort of thing, which again, we're not just doing a high word count to do a high word count. We're doing it because being comprehensive is really important. Finding related topics to actually fill out your content, just enter your keyword into Google and check a few places. So auto suggestions in the search bar, excellent. The people also ask box, obviously we talked about that, amazing. And the bottom of the search engine results page also can have some interesting suggestions. They typically match the auto suggestions in the search bar, but sometimes they're different. Speaking of comprehensive, like I've been alluding to, Google likes long form content. So a study found that the average Google first page result is about 1,500 words. So that's kind of the terrain that we want to be in, the area we want to be in. And I say at least 1,000, but with an outline, which we'll get to, it's actually pretty easy to reach that number. Finally, your content should be enriched, which I referred to in my previous presentation. Link to studies, include quotes from experts, embed videos, use infographics, maybe add data of your own. You get the point. Google can tell when you improve your content in this way, and they love it. They really, really do. Next up, fixing your formatting. Very, very important. You need to format your content for Google and searchers. If your formatting isn't on point, it'll be way more difficult to rank on page 1. So here's what you can do. Implement those website readability best practices we've been talking about. Add images to your content and optimize your title, tag, and meta description. I talked about this before, so I'm not going to spend too much time. But if you can understand that people don't read on the internet, they're probably scanning, then that's why we use those readability best practices. Also, you can consider it to be formatting. And when we format our content, we create a hierarchy in the text that signals to Google what is more important, and we do that through headings. So essentially, if you can stick to these rules, you're good to go. Short sentences, 80% of your sentences should be 20 words or less. Short paragraphs, your paragraph should be 3 to 5 sentences long. I often will do 1 sentence per paragraph. Use lots of headings, no more than 300 words between headings. Use simple sentences, not these like really complicated run-on things, and try to stick to a 6th to 8th grade reading level, in particular using basic vocabulary.
I want to pause right here and just leave this up for a second, because this is such gold. This slide, I mean, everything you're sharing is gold, but this slide especially is so important. And I say this with the utmost respect for therapists. Therapists love to write like term papers, write like thesis. And it's this is such a key right here, is exactly what you're saying, is people don't read, they scan. A lot of times they'll just read just the headlines, right? Like, and not even read anything below. So it's like, how can you even tell that entire story in your headlines? How can you break it up like this? So just really wanted to highlight the importance of this in not having those sentences that go on for 5 lines. Like, your paragraph shouldn't even be 5 lines, let alone a sentence. And just the difference between how something looks in a Google Doc or a Word doc versus how it looks on a mobile phone. And all of a sudden you have an entire screen that's just text, and that people at Google don't want to really look at. So anyway, just.
Yeah. Again, as a web designer, I'm sure you see this kind of thing all the time. And you really just kind of have to train yourself to clean it up, Simple writing is just better anyways, like, especially if you want to improve yourself as a writer, this is really the best way to train yourself to do that. I mentioned the Yoast real-time content analysis tool, but really to hone in on like your quality of writing, I recommend the Hemingway app online. It's fantastic. Anytime I'm working with a client who's really struggling with this stuff, I'm like, always draft your content in Hemingway. It highlights when things are difficult to read. So it's just very, very helpful in improving that. Next, we need to add images, breaking up your text. Like we talked about the wall of text we don't like to see, but you can add keywords in your images as file names, alt text. Definitely remember to resize your images. I use Canva to resize images and name the file a keyword with hyphens like y-can't-i-sleep.png. And the reason we do that, resizing is because often when you download something from a stock photo site, the images are like at least like 2,000 pixels wide, which is larger than most laptops. So we just want to resize them because if they're too big, they're going to slow down your site when it loads, and Google really doesn't like that. So that's why we do that. And then you also add a keyword in your alt text along with the description of what's in the image to make sure your site is accessible. I like to say aim for adding 3 images, and each of the 3 images should have a different file name and alt text. You want to use these variants throughout your content too. So during your keyword research, you'll likely notice that your target keyword is phrased different ways. So people want the exact same thing out of the keyword, but it's just phrased slightly differently. Here's some examples. Use these variations as file names or come up with your own variations. I often do that. So for example, why can't I sleep at night? Why I can't sleep at night? Why I can't sleep at night but can during the day? Stuff like that. The variety is good. Finally, your title tag and meta description. I'm sure everyone has heard of these at this point. Title tags are on 60 characters. Meta descriptions are 140 to 160. Want the keyword right away in the beginning. Speak to the search intent to increase those clicks. Definitely, you want people obviously to see your website on page 1, but really good title tags can help increase clicks. And just capitalize all the words in your title tag. That's just the way Google likes it. I don't know, it kind of bothers me because I'm like a grammar person, but just make it all capitals. That's what they like. And then finally, I'm just going to get some tips for writing efficiently because you're probably feeling a little bit overwhelmed hearing about all this standard that you have to reach to compete on Google. So a few of my tips: outlining and also trying voice typing. So save time and increase the quality of your content with an outline. I always start with an outline. You basically create a list of topics, which become your subheadings for your content. For a 1,000-word piece of content, I like to choose around 6 to 8 headings and planning having 150 to 200 words in each section. And obviously, whenever I include these number recommendations, it's just to give you a sense of where to start. But as you start owning this process, that's going to change, obviously. We can use the keyword can't sleep at night. Here's some of the headings that I would choose. And again, I didn't put a lot of research into this, but this is just an example. Your introduction, some reasons you can't sleep at night. I list out those reasons. How to quickly fall asleep. A few more of those reasons, about that many words I want to do. And then your conclusion. And you always pitch your own services at the end of your content as well. So I always start with an outline. It just takes a lot of the pressure off of you, like the blank page effect, like just that cursor blinking. It's horrible. So I just start with an outline. If you need some help on subheadings, enter the topic into answerthepublic.com, enter the keyword into Google and see what topics other people have in their content. And then you can always check the auto suggestions and search bar like we've been talking about. That will also give you some ideas. Next, try voice typing. I know a lot of therapists are nervous about writing, so try voice typing in Google Docs to transfer your knowledge to the page that way instead. You create a new Google Doc, click Tools, then select voice typing, press record, talk away, and then you can format and edit. But I don't recommend just like starting to talk. If you do this method, start with an outline. Absolutely. So that's it. Kind of speeding through there at the end because I want to make sure we get to everything. But yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit.
That was great. Epic. Thank you, Kristie. So much valuable information in there, and so much hopefully for everybody watching. You can see all the things you can actually do yourself.
Yes.
Right? There is so much of a foundation that can be done on your own that you can and should be doing with every piece of content and every page that goes onto your website. And just the power of SEO, and again, doing yourself, working with someone like Kristie, it's a process, and it's totally worth it at the end, because you're not necessarily seeing it today, you're not seeing it next week, you're not seeing it next month, but how amazing would it be if in a year, in 2 years, you don't even have to pay for Google Ads. You just know that, like, you can count on every single month that you're going to get hundreds to thousands of visitors to your therapist website for keywords, for topics that they are actually wanting help with, and that you don't have to pay thousands of dollars a month in Google Ads for that to happen. And it just, it's just the best gift. So SEO is the best gift you can give your website, you can give your practice, is to actually start focusing on it from the beginning. And again, like, I talk to a lot of therapists, like, I can only do one thing. I've only got the budget for one thing. So if you're starting out, right, and that's why I love that this presentation is about things you can do on your own, right? So like, start out with Google Ads. Like, if you need leads, qualified leads tomorrow, SEO is not what's going to do that. Like, right when you start your website, as Kristie so beautifully shared, like all the things that have to happen. So do the Google Ads, but don't forget the power of digging up that foundation, of building success, sustainable success for the future, right? I could talk about my online courses called Get More Clients and Fill Your Caseload with Ease and Flow. Well, ease and flow doesn't come out of the gate. Ease and flow comes from building the foundation. And that's what Kristie's been talking about. And that's just so valuable and so important about SEO. So I want to say thank you to you, Kristie, for this incredible presentations and for all the information. Is there anything else you wanted that we should talk about? I don't know that there is. It's been.
I'm pretty comprehensive when I
yeah.
teach. But I will say, last thing, sorry, but
please.
Just like philosophically, good things take time.
Yes.
So we kind of expect things to happen quickly. Yes. And a lot of times building a business that's going to stand the test of time and building something you're proud of, that simply takes time. And I know it's scary to invest in something and you're like not exactly sure it's going to pan out, but sometimes that's just like the faith that you need in the process. And you're so right. The ease and flow does not come right away. You can't expect it to come right away. But putting in the time or the money or just the hope that's going to work out is totally worth it. So
yeah, and it does. That's the thing. This stuff actually does work. Right? We wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't be in business if this stuff
no,
results and fill caseloads. Right? Like it's amazing. And the one other thing I wanted to reflect on, and you mentioned it in your presentation, I love this too, is not every piece of content you write is going to get you new clients. Right? Not every single thing you're doing is going to lead anywhere. But by focusing on SEO and by creating this content and creating blog posts and actually putting time and energy and effort into the writing, it's this extra, ripple effect, the butterfly effect of beautiful change and of making the world a better place that you get to do. That's like a natural extension of your therapy practice, because you never know, exactly as you said, like who's coming on that page. Like, no, I'm totally not ready for therapy, but that article gave me this incredible thing that I tried with my boss, with my partner, with myself, and it changed my life forever. So, to me, a part of everything that's done online and a part of successful marketing is the question of how can the content you create make someone's life better, even if they never reach out and become a paying client. And I really believe that, like that, on an energetic level, on a
goes back around
level, like on a life level, is the way to approach SEO, your website, your business, and everything. So I just love that you mentioned that too, and just got that going.
Yeah.
So okay, so for next steps, if anybody wants to get in touch with Kristie, you have an amazing newsletter. Of course, Kristie does this as her job and would happily talk to you about what that could look like for your practice. If you're just dipping your pinky toe into the water, definitely apply some of the practices you learned today. I'm going to drop some links below to Kristie's website. You can follow her on social media, sign up for her incredible newsletter. And of course, I'm sure you're open to people asking you any questions that they may have instead of me playing middleman and like, hey, Kristie, so-and-so wanted to know. Like, reach out to her. I'm going to put all your contact information below.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me. And I hope some people get something out of this. So
I'm sure that I got something out of it. I want to go sign up. I'm like, okay, I'm like John Ideas. I got to go work on stuff on my own website right now. There's some new things. Anyway, Kristie, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you, everybody who's watching, and have a beautiful rest of your day.